Welcome to another series of BK Play. This time we're doing this tiny little game called Puddle. It was released about a decade ago. It was on XBLA, Wii U, it was on PC, maybe it was on PlayStation Network as well. It's very indie, as you can see, very different. It focuses on fluid physics and basically the way you interact with the environment. You actually don't control the fluid. As you can see, I can actually tilt the menu screen as well. This is basically Loco Roco, but just not quite as weird, but still a little bit weird. Now, just as a warning, this game has a lot of screen shaking, a lot of moving and stuff like that. Like, if that bothers you, then maybe shrink the window a little bit, or just listen to the series if you want. But yeah, just as a warning. So we're going to start with as you can see, this is my practice save. This is how far I've played on my own time, but we're gonna basically go for the whole game. It's gonna be a very short series, a nice contrast to some of my longer BK plays. We're gonna go to watercourse, and we're just gonna start it all over again. It plays all the cutscenes in order, so everything's gonna be nice, and it's gonna have that continuity, alright? So here we go. Puddle. Dude left his coffee, and as you can see, we are the coffee, and for some reason there's also a pipe attached to us. That's an interesting little graphical error. Those do happen occasionally. You're gonna have to excuse them. Sometimes the fire looks a little funny, but it's not a massive deal. So this is how the game works. As you can see, I'm not actually controlling the liquid. I'm controlling everything around the liquid, right? And these fluid physics are very, very well done. I'm surprised this shit ran on the laptop I had at the time of release. You know, it was not a very powerful machine, and yet it still ran this okay, I think. Oh, and that's the first level. Yeah, levels aren't very long in this game. It's a challenge-focused game. It's quite difficult. But I don't think it ever exceeds a particular point of difficulty where it's too much. I remember when I first played this game, there was a certain part that I literally, like 5 minutes before I started recording, I cleared on my actually on my second try. And I was like, what the fuck? That gave child me that much trouble? Apparently I just really sucked. You know, people say you get worse at video games as you age. And I guess that's true after a certain point, but as of right now, fortunately, it seems to be the other way around for me. As in, I'm not great at them still, as many of my playthroughs have demonstrated, but hey, at least that part isn't a problem for me, so I'm not going to spoil what it is, but we're not going to have an issue with that section of the game when we get to it. So here we have some fire. Evaporation, it's a very real thing in physics, you know, fire, ice. What do you get when you combine fire and ice? God, that marketing. What kind of marketing is that for, like, what was it for Sonic Boom Fire and Ice? Yeah, whatever. Apparently that game wasn't terrible, but anyway. But obviously here you want to avoid the fire because it makes you go tss, it makes you sizzle. Just like water does. You are going to want to interact with it in different ways later on, and there's two types of stages in this game. There's the typical straightforward challenge stage, and you also, as you can see, there's a little bit of tolerance. I can get touched by the fire just a little bit and without dying, but if I stay there for too long, I die. And there's also the kind of level where you kind of have, you'll have like a little challenge that's not obstacle based. It's not an obstacle course. Maybe you're going to be controlling a glass container, and you have to, you know, mix ingredients or something like that. Like, you'll see what happens. It's really interesting, actually. This game has some really, really great visual theming, and it's really cool how most of the environments are very simplistic, actually. As you can see, 90% of what you're looking at uttered in the fluid is just a bunch of fucking PNGs or just straight up vector graphic images. They're not even vector, they're rasterized, but they were made vector in Photoshop or Illustrator. You know, they're just 2D shapes, which is probably why this is so not super computationally demanding. I'm sure that 90% of whatever your CPU might be doing here is focusing entirely on the liquid being, you know, rendered and looks all pretty and whoa. It's like, remember NVIDIA Flex? That was a thing. I think the most noteworthy thing about it is that Nerdcube made a very funny video about it. He's the kind of guy who can make that entertaining, a fucking graphical tech demo, because you play around with different liquids and stuff and physics objects, and it's really fun. Although this was, I think, a little bit before that was released, so And if considering that it ran on my old laptop when I was a kid, then it definitely was not as demanding as Flex, right? I wonder if it's actually being used in current games. It probably is. You know, all the games with fancy water deformation and snow deformation. I remember when like Forza Horizon Freeze Blizzard Mountain expansion came out, I was just like, oh my god, they put snow deformation in a real video game. Not just spin tires, because yeah, spin tires has that mud deformation. Here we can actually observe the camera of the game and how it's a little bit odd. This game has this very strange thing where it gets easier as you suck more, if that makes sense. So the problem that the game's camera has is that it has a really hard time figuring out which part of your big blob to follow when it splits into pieces. But when there's less of the blob to split up, the game actually has an easier time tracking all of it. So in a way, right now, as I have almost died, it's a little bit easier for the game to allow me to see everything. So in a way, there's this very interesting difficulty scaling thing going on where it gets easier as you make mistakes, but it's also harder as you make mistakes because you can make fewer mistakes. So it's a very different approach to the way you do difficulty. I don't even know if it was intentional by the developers, but that's how it ended up being. So if you feel like sometimes the game is too hard to keep track of everything, maybe you should intentionally get rid of some of your fluid and then try and get through the level without making as many mistakes, if that makes sense. Here, this fire is damn near instant kill. You want to use the physics to very slowly sliver your way down. And I can't say the word sliver without thinking of that fucking browser game, sliver.io. And I can guarantee you, most of the game's appeal was just how pretty the particles look when you collect them. You know, and oh god, those clickbait-ass thumbnails, where they'll just artificially make, you know, in Photoshop, they'll make their steak look ginormous and stuff, and they'll edit other people's profile pictures onto it. Or that was a Gary. Oh god, the IO craze of the late 2010s. Every fucking game .io. Oh my god, I can't even think of the extension IO. I guess that's what it is, like the kind of address. Because there are still addresses with IO at the end, like itch.io, I believe it's called, where you can buy games and stuff. But I think they don't have DRM. Do they have DRM? I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I just can't look at IO. Even like insert out. Okay, no, because there's a hyphen, not a hyphen. There's a slash. There's a forward slash or a backslash. You know, insert output. No, not insert. Input output. That's in audio production or whatever. So what do I think of this game as a whole? It's very fun. I'm sure that most of the appeal for me, especially at the time when I first played it, was the fact that, hey, it's got these really cool fluid physics, and they're very satisfying to watch, right? It's why we all love watching, like, jelly Tetris type videos. Also, loading times are very long. Very short. I appreciate that, because I'm not going to have to do much editing here. I'm just going to, you know, instantly move on to the next stage. But another part of the appeal is the speed. This game can get very fast-paced, as you can see, although it even has like a time trial mode, I believe. Like, it encourages you to go through levels faster with the medals and such. Now, I believe there also used to be a difficulty slider. I'm not sure if they patched that out or if it's exclusive to particular versions. I'm not sure, because I remember there being like these chocolate medals, but maybe that's not a thing, or maybe it is a thing and I'm just misremembering. Whatever. Doesn't really matter, but still, this game has a great flow to it, although it can be a little bit frustrating at times, but I do feel that for the most part, the game does a good enough job at making mistakes feel like they were truly my own fault. Like, that, for example, okay, fuck, that was my own fault. I really should have remembered that there's fire over there, and now I'm probably gonna end up restarting the level, right? Oh, no. Can I make it? I think I'm just about gonna survive that. Did I survive it? I just about survived. Wow, see, that was clutch. That was so close. We're still moving our way through the lab area. I think this is the final stage, and yeah, as you can see, the levels in this game are not very long, so we're definitely going to be clearing 2 areas per episode, most likely. It's what you would expect in terms of length for a game of this type, right? This is not some massive AAA fucking blah blah blah, you know, big boy kind of game where it's like, oh fuck yeah, let's have a 50 Actually, no, it's interesting because some of the biggest budget games, like big shooters and stuff, have really short campaigns. To be fair, they kind of have to be short because otherwise those million-dollar games would cost billions of dollars to produce if they were any longer. With all the acting and the scripting and the cutscenes and the blah blah and all that stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I fully understand this particular challenge here. I think you have to evaporate as much of your water as possible to bring up the pressure before you run out of time, because there's a timer down there. I think that's what you're supposed to do, even though I swear to God there was this one time when I did it and I was just, evaporating my water as you're supposed to, and all of a sudden I just died. But maybe I just ran out of time. That's also a distinct possibility. So, as you can see, it's a lot of slopey physics, lots of that Sonic Spinball type shit. Actually, you know what? I've never played Sonic Spinball. I think I played the Game Gear version for a few seconds in Sonic Adventure DX, right? Because it has all the Game Gear games. Did I do it? Was that a win or a loss? Yeah, I win. All right, on to the next area. Well, okay, maybe as far as the game's concerned, it's not the next area, but still, as you can see, we're in a very different looking place. What do we have to do here? It's one of those gimmick stages I was talking about. It's not a regular obstacle course type challenge. Instead, you have to activate these... I don't know what this is. Sprinklers? Like, what it... Oh, fuck, I've fallen. I've fallen, and I have succeeded, apparently. That was a win. I don't get it either. Sometimes it's just, okay, I won, and now we're here. As you can see, now we're using a fertilizer, I think it just said. You get a detailed description of every fluid that you use, and they all have their different properties, right? You start off with something very basic, like water, of course, and now this is a little bit gooier, a little stickier. Those plants eat you. I mean, they don't eat you, but they kill you, basically. In fact, later on, we do run into some plants that genuinely do eat you. They're like fly trap type plants, and I've already fucking died. As far as controls go, you have a couple different options. On console, I think you get the choice between the, well, on Wii U, I know you can use the gyro pad, the gyro controls on the gamepad, which is retarded. You shouldn't ever do that. But you also have, what do you call it? Yeah, the analog stick, that's what I've chosen to use, and the shoulder buttons, like the triggers, which is, it's kind of amazing. Wait, hold on. I just realized, does the Wii U even have triggers, or are they digital? Like, have Nintendo just completely forgotten how to do digital? And I kind of understand, analog, I mean, I kind of understand why they did it for the Switch, because it's portable, and I imagine the technology involved in analog triggers would be too... like it would create too much of a risk of damage, for example. I'm not exactly sure, but I guess I can understand it there. But still, I mean, have they really not have any sort of analog triggers since the GameCube? Because I'm pretty sure the Wii Classic controller doesn't have any. Okay, as you can see here, we have a little bit of one of those dilemmas where you got a tiny little piece of you just... This game is all about sacrifice. Knowing which part of yourself is going to disappear, right? You can't... I don't know if it's really possible, objectively. Maybe someone's really good at this game and knows that it is possible, but I personally do not believe that it's possible to beat an entire stage, any of the levels, apart from maybe like the first few, keeping every single molecule, every single milliliter of whatever it is that you have at your disposal. It's just going to have to disappear at some point. Even if it doesn't necessarily get destroyed by the environment, it's just going to go off screen and the game's not going to consider it a thing. There we go. We're using Weed Killer. I think later on we use Fertilizer. Dissolves on contact with sun dews, and okay, use a liquid to... Yeah, I know what to do. I've played this game before, don't you know? And I do love how sometimes blatant things can be with the art design. It's just like, look at these big arrows. Here's where you go. Even though it's not exactly hard to figure out where to go. This is my favorite kind of puzzle game. Because it's not really a puzzle game. It's a platformer that requires you to just think a little more about how you control the character, so to speak. It's not really a character you control, but still. Oh, fuck. I took quite a bit of damage there. Because really, there's no puzzle solving. There's very basic interaction with the environment. For the most part, you're just kind of traversing a track, right? And that appeals to me because it's very simple. I never get confused. I never get lost. I will get frustrated occasionally, but that's usually on me for just not being very good, as the kids these days call it, a skill issue. See, here, this is really frustrating. For example, the fact that half of my dude is all the way over there, and okay, something just happened, and now most of myself is gone, and now I'm back. You see what I mean? The camera can be really, really problematic at times, and I'm fucking dead, I think. Am I not? Yeah, I am dead. I think you might have noticed every time I die, there's a whine feature. What they mean is that you can bitch, and then you can skip the level, but you only have a limited number of those. I think you unlock more as you go. I'm gonna obviously not do that for this playthrough, no matter how many times I have to practice a certain part of the game, because I want to showcase every stage. And I don't have save states available to me, so, you know, I'm gonna have to actually do this legit. But again, it's not a very difficult game. It's not a super complicated puzzle type game, despite the fact that it almost bills itself as one, but it really isn't. This is not a puzzle game. At least I don't believe it is. It's physics driven, yes. It requires a little bit of thinking, a little bit of, you know, strategy, and overall, it's not as if you have to really think of this as a puzzle game, because it's not. As I just said, it's not a puzzle game. It's a simple obstacle course based action game, and I love that. This is a very fun game for me. I would recommend it, even if you, I don't know, if you're looking for a conventional platformer. It's obviously not. It's just that's what it is. That is exactly how to define this game. It's an unconventional platformer, because you're still moving around on these platforms. You're still making your way through these obstacle courses. There's speed involved. There's timing. There's precision. Not as much precision as you would really want to have in this kind of game, considering that you're not controlling what it is that you're controlling. It's very much like, you know what? Puddle is Loco Roco. That's what I said in the beginning, didn't I? Unless that's a different take that I did that I didn't keep. Doesn't matter. But yeah, Puddle is Loco Roco, but with a different style to it, and not quite as aggressively Japanese. Loco Roco's Japanese, right? I mean, I know Loco, that's Spanish, but it's a Japanese series. Like, come on, it's gotta be. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's, especially because it was Sony exclusive. Yeah, okay, it must be Japanese in that case. And I know, just because it's Sony exclusive doesn't mean that there's plenty of games that aren't Japanese that are exclusive to a certain platform, but, you know, just like how there's lots of, I imagine there's probably some European exclusives for Xbox, even though Xbox is a very American thing. But anyway, I think we just have to kill this thing, right? And then, yep, everything collapses, and look at this. Half my puddle is all the way on one side. Now I'm gonna basically have to coordinate them. See, there's a little bit of thinking involved, but it's not as if you have to solve a massive overarching problem that connects via this is not Myst. Dude, Myst. It's such a weird game, because it's not even really a video game. It is a video game, but it's like a giant puzzle. It was really meant to showcase what DVDs could do, if you really think about, like, CDs, not DVDs, CDs, right? Because back then, in the early to mid 90s, that was like a huge deal. It's like, oh my god, you could store so much data on this thing. So Myst was yeah, okay, as you can hear, the sound design of this game is very well done. I really do love the soundscapes. Not a lot of music, but the music that is there is very catchy, very memorable, and has a great splat, like just a little bit of ambience. Not too much of an emphasis on repetitive parts. Like, I don't know, it's very well done. Oh shit, see, look at that, this thing literally chomps on you. It takes a couple chomps for it to actually cut into your health bar. See, look at how zoomed out the camera is now. Why can't the camera always be, oh no. See, I told you, I'm gonna have to leave a little bit of myself behind there. Like, it's inevitable. It's not evitable. What the fuck? No, you can't avoid that, basically. You're gonna have to separate yourself from a little bit of your but fortunately, now that I'm smaller a little bit, the camera has an easier time keeping track. I wonder how much this game would have benefited from manual camera control. You know, because it has a Wii U version, maybe you could, like, use the touchscreen to pan the camera around. Actually, wait, that would probably be a pain in the ass, unless you were using anything but the analog stick. Wait, hold on, make sure that, there you go, you reunite yourself with the rest of yourself. So what else do I feel? How do I feel about the difficulty? As I said, I think it's very well balanced. It's very clever with the way that it gets easier as you make more mistakes, but it's still harder. The level tropes are quite original. We're going to be visiting another lab type section, and then well, I'm not going to spoil it, actually. Even though, what the fuck am I talking about? I think you saw the main menu at the start. Basically, we're going to be entering a dude. We're going to get swallowed by a guy. We're going to get fucking vored. And then we're going to have to maneuver. That's the bit that I thought the game just ended when I was a kid. Because I swear to God, it was like the hardest fucking thing. Like, seriously. And now it's piss easy. No pun intended, because by the end of the level, he literally pisses you out. I'm not even kidding. And now we're playing as fertilizer. See, in this level, this is when they start introducing some more gimmicks, some different gimmicks. You can use this this liquid to alter the terrain around you, just like the last one. Every single liquid in this game has some kind of terrain-altering property, and it makes this game very unique. So as you can see right here, I can jump, I can throw myself onto whatever the hell this thing is, right? Like, it's just a little bit of foliage, and it makes a sound, makes a really nice sound, and it starts to grow. Again, we're going to lose a little bit. That liquid right there off to the left, it's gone, right? I can't tilt fast enough to be able to get it back. And there, bye-bye, you know, it's gone now. Don't get yourself eaten by those fly traps. I think that's what they're called, Venus fly traps. Oh, they're called Venus because they kind of look like a... Ah, that makes sense. Okay, anyway. Lots of big yellow arrows to tell you where to go. They do kind of clash a little bit artistically with the rest of the aesthetics of the stage, but I can't really complain about that too much. I mean, this game wasn't made by a huge team, and I think they did a very good job making their game feel polished. You know, nice sense of contrast. Like, the backgrounds are super blurry, as you can see, but the environment, I think it was a very smart choice to make the environments practically black, just black outlines. It's really nice and stylish looking, and it allows all of the important gameplay related elements to stick out just completely. Like, you can never mistake your liquid for anything else. Although that rule is slightly broken a little bit later on in the game when we enter the human body, because the colors become just completely, like, it's not that so much the colors, but they introduce a lot more gradients. They make it look like an X-ray photo, right? And the problem with that is it's slightly harder to tell what parts are interactable and what aren't. Obviously, the bits that damage you will be bright red, but the rest of them kind of get a little muddy. You'll see it in part 2. But anyway, as you can see, we have to place this, it looks like a pear, but I guess it's a seed because, oh yeah, because we're on a microscopic level, so that's got to be a seed, which plants that flower. So now we can get a little bit of speed up. It's very important to use your momentum. Again, if you're one of those people who believes that every Sonic game needs to have, like, accurate to real-life pinball physics character movement, as in Sonic literally needs to control like a pinball from a real pinball machine, and it's the only way the game is going to be good, this game is for you because it has those kind of physics. Are they actually accurate to the liquids? Well, I don't know. I'm not a physicist, and I don't particularly care to observe the way fluids move in real life. And clearly you can tell that they're slowed down. My fucking god, I'm dead. I'm dead. That's game over. Is it game over? It's game over. Okay, let's restart. Clearly the physics are slowed down because you've all seen how water moves in real life. Now, this isn't water, but obviously it would, if this game were to run in real time, I imagine it would be basically unplayable because it's just splash and you're gone, right? Instead, everything is slightly slowed down. It basically makes everything way more viscous than it really has to be. A lot sludgier than the kind of music you'll hear in fucking Top Gear Overdrive, which I am going to do a Focus on B on. Maybe I've already done it, for all you know. Again, I don't really know my schedule all that well. I just kind of upload when stuff is done, and I schedule it for like a month in advance or two. I mean, I can't believe I literally have, as of making this video, I have my Metal Arms Glitch in the System series, which may or may not have even started. That it's a third-person shooter for the PS2 and GameCube. I think it's also on the Xbox. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. It ends in April of next year. I mean, April of, I guess, this year. Did I seriously make the exact same mistake twice? No, actually I have just enough little bits of fluid left right here to survive. Look at that. We don't have to restart. And now I have to be very, very careful because just one touch and I'm dead. So, let's make sure we don't make that mistake. Oh no, pull back. Keep yourself as tightly compact as possible for this next section, okay? We're just gonna move a little bit, and that's not gonna harm me. When you find a shriveled seed, you absolutely have to remain in contact with it the whole time, because if you lose contact with it, it shrivels back up and it's game over. Yeah, you can't re-fertilize it, you just lose. So basically, I cannot stop touching this thing. Look at this. And there you get a little bit of a grace period, but for the most part, you have to stay in constant contact with this seed. You plant it, and hopefully everything goes well. There you go. And did I lose the last second? No. Okay, I won. And that's going to do it for the first part of Puddle, the physics-driven platform action game that I really enjoy. I'll see you guys in part 2, where we'll be tackling the level that you're seeing right now, which seems to be another laboratory type area, alright? So see you guys in part 2.